Whoa, okay. This is kind of surreal. So this is my first time at the Tell. So I'm really so I apologize if this is really bad. So it's probably going to be. So this is the first date with my now fiance. And it's kind of funny because I first didn't know him. I knew of him because one of my friends, to me, he was that tall Christian kid who I really fucking hate all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I kept hearing, Josh. I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? I'm like a very visual person. I need a face to a name. Otherwise, I'm like, sayonara, I don't know who you are. Okay. And so finally he points him out. And we start talking, and we're like, yeah, fine, whatever. And it was always just kind of awkward because Josh is 6'7". And I'm about 5'6", and with my cowboy boots on, I'm about 5'8". So I hit about his chest. So most of the time, he's looking down on me. And so finally one day, I ask him out, and we're going on our first date. And the first thing my mom asked me is, you gonna wear heels? I'm like, no, I hate heels. And she's like, you should wear heels. Why, Mom? Well, I think you're going to get a kiss, so you need to wear heels. I was like, no, stop. That's all I remember for that. So he pulls up in his car, whatever, and we had decided to go to dinner and a movie. So our first date had kind of gotten pushed off because he was like, oh, I had family stuff, whatever, so I'm already thinking, not a good sign, Second, third time over, guess we're just going to kind of maybe do this. And so he pulls up, and I get in the car. I'm like, and I told him, you need to plan it. Because I'm really bad at dates. I'm not good at deciding things. Like, if people are like, hey, where should we go to dinner? I'm like, yes. Food is good. It's my favorite. So, it is, really. Food is delightful. Oh, my God. So, we eventually, I get in the car, and I'm just like, so where are we going to go to dinner? And he's like, well, I figure we can go to Perkins and, just maybe get an appetizer or something. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we get there, and, we're starting to choose. And I'm like, I think I'm going to get some, chicken strips. What do you think? And he's like, oh, I'm not eating. I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, yeah, my parents wanted me to eat with them before, so I just figured I could come here and I could eat. And I'm just like, oh, I'm a nervous eater. I can't eat in front, if I eat in front of you, I truly like you and you're my friend. To me, eating in front of people who aren't eating is just so very awkward. So the lady comes around, and at this time, I was involved in a lot of stuff in high school, so I hadn't had time to have lunch. So it'd been since 9 a.m. since I had eaten. So I was like, I want chicken, and I want green beans, and I think I'm going to eat it all, but you should probably bring a box right away. The waitress is just like, okay. So eventually we're eating and talking and whatever. And by the way, he just really likes to get into those hard, heavy-hitting issues right away. I think within the first 5 minutes of the car, he's like, so what political party do you belong to? This is a junior in high school. And he's just like, let's go at it. Let's see. I'm just like, well, I'm mostly independent, and I'm trying to stay, in that fine line of, what's okay. So eventually, we get done eating. I have my little box. I'm like, okay, well, what movie are we going to go to? What movie theater? He says, well, I figured we'd just go to the theater and see what movies we're at and what times they were at. And I was like, okay, well, did you at least check ahead and see what kind of time frames they were? Nope. So we get to the theater, and all the movies, started at 8. And at this point, it was, I think 9:15 or so. All the movies, again, started at 10. And, my curfew, it was his curfew was at, 11. I was like, that's not going to work. He's like, oh, well, I guess we could just drive around, I guess. So we're driving around, just trying to figure out what to do. And he's like, well, I have this really pretty park I want to go to. And at this point, it's late. So I'm like, okay, let's go to the park. So we're walking around the park, and at this point, I was getting really freaked out. I was just like, oh, God, I'm going to die. I'm really sorry. And so eventually, we're walking around or whatever, and he gets this call. And and this is a park where you needed to have a pass to get in, whatever. And he gets this call, and he's like, oh, so they're trying to lock the gates, and they locked the gates already, so we're stuck in here. So we need to walk around for another, half hour before we can get out. I was like, oh, okay. Let me just get on my phone and call my mom. And I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm going to be home a little bit late. We're stuck in the park. And my mom goes, what? She was like, Beth, I told you to wear your heels. Like, like, Mom, sorry, okay? So eventually, like, we get out of the park and everything, and he's saying goodnight, and he's like, so, this was a really quality first date. I looked at him, and I was just like, so, this is take one. I'm going to give you take two in another week, and it was much better take two, but I don't have enough time for that story, so that was take one. So